Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
I'm calling this the season of the worker. Workers know they have leverage now, and they want better benefits. They want better pay out of their employers, and definitely employers are trying to respond. The fight to attract or retain employees means figuring out what kind of benefits they're looking for. And my workplace analyst, Joel Patterson's back with me. He heads up one of the top companies to work for in the country, the Vested Group. And I like to go to Joel with these issues. Hey, Joel, welcome back to the program. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Always great to be here.
Yeah, it's always great to talk with you about these things. So what are some of the ways, Joel, that employers are now being creative in trying to keep their employees happy in regard to a benefit package?
Yeah, so just to get this out of the way, first of all, compensation matters a lot. And so just assuming that part has been taken care of, and which isn't a given these days, because a lot of people are paying salaries that aren't where they normally are, let's just put it that way. But if you've got that part figured out, really knowing that it's a tight labor market anyway, you really need to go into these interactions with your existing employees, with recruits, and have something that's going to set you apart from the competition, because the likelihood of them only having one offer is small. You need to be able to set yourself apart. So, you can look at things that have been kicked around before, like daycare benefits, telemedicine, things like that are certainly in play. But when you can find things that are unique, that are, that make sense, that somebody would want to take advantage of, then you really have the ability to be viewed differently. So an example of that would be pets. A lot of people bought a dog or a cat during the pandemic, and they don't want to leave them at home. And I'm not saying I'm necessarily a proponent of this, but a lot of times people will say, hey, why don't we have pet day and see what happens there, or once a week or twice a week. But that really speaks to the hybrid nature of things moving forward. You've got to have a defined hybrid policy if you're in an industry that allows for that. Obviously a lot of them won't, but that's kind of the baseline going into things is what does your hybrid policy look like, and what are the unique benefits? Maybe it's pets, maybe it's gym memberships, whatever it is, that allows them to really feel like they're valued and allows them to stay engaged in your organization.
No, you're exactly right. You don't have to be a big proponent of it or opponent. It's just that, is that going to attract workers? I mean, that really is the bottom line. You're right, Joel. And one of the things I was interested in when I was reading about this topic was how many folks are starting to calculate benefits, put in benefits that have to do with child care. Because it seems to me, Joel, when we start talking about this and people ask, where are the workers, that a lot of moms left the workforce and are trying to figure out how not to come back. So did some employers say, well, maybe if I'm out there being more aggressive in helping child care help, I'd get more people back into the workforce? What do you think?
I think it's definitely an aspect of it. I think it's going to appeal to a certain subset of it. There's others that will respond to something different. But if you can find something that you can really just sink your teeth into and focus on, that's going to provide the flexibility that you want to provide to them. Flexibility around whether it's childcare. There's a lot going on with people, and just whether it's your parents, but just people that have been sick that others need to stay out to take care of. So telemedicine benefits, those are things that are definitely still in play. The child care thing is interesting, though, because we personally looked at this before, pre-pandemic, at maybe even opening up a room in the office for child care so people could leave them but still see their kids. And it's amazing how many regulations go into that. And it almost discourages you from doing it. But creating a partnership with a local daycare center makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, it absolutely. But there, Joel, that was a really interesting point to make. And you looked into it, and there are a lot of regulations that might prohibit it. And that's the thing in our modern society. When we start talking about employment law, Joel, you keep saying flexibility. Other guests on this show keep saying flexibility. There's the thing that maybe the government now needs to recognize. Employers need more flexibility because their employees want more flexibility. Am I right in that?
Oh, you're definitely right. And we've seen a lot of that through the pandemic, and how the government has responded to what ails the business world these days, whether it's, trying to reduce the risk of somebody suing because they caught COVID, those kind of things. That freeing of some of those regulations would help business so much. The flip side of that, though, is when you do that and you start becoming responsible, or someone starts becoming responsible for making those decisions, and then how do they make those decisions? And that can obviously get out of hand too. But there's no question that the regulations that are pushed upon business sometimes can really be an impediment to growth. I mean, look at the vaccine piece that's happening now.
Yep.
All of the responsibility of that is going to be on business, and it really has nothing to do with business. So those kind of things add up.
He heads up the Vested Group. He's a workplace analyst. He's Joel Patterson. Joel, thanks very much for talking to me about that.